Hey everybody, so I wanted to talk a little bit about these guys here. These are the Sacred Tree Essences stuff that I've got. I did Bob and Santa a while ago. A bunch of people bought this off of their website after I did the video, like I think a lot of people. It was a really powerful experience, and several people in the group had massively powerful experiences too. The others I haven't done so much of. Cielo Ayahuasca might be up next, but we'll see. Ucho Sanengo I haven't tried yet, but I believe it's very similar to Sinanga, which I did a year ago, which was very powerful. Lupuna Blanca, I'm very interested in trying this because the description of it is really nice. Ayayuma, I'm a little nervous about doing, even though the reviews on the website were really good. One of the shamans on the group says that, basically she met Shiva and total ass-kicking experience with Ayayuma. Of course, she did it with a serious diet in the jungle, not with a safe... But this is the last one on the list because I'm a bit nervous about it. Now, this leaves me with Camalunga and Wiry Caspi. Now, Camalunga is weird because this is supposed to work in your dreams. Here's the weird thing is I've been having dreams about this all week, about Camalunga. One of the ones, there was a dream which was extremely profound I had where I went into, I can't remember all the details, but essentially what happens is Camalunga apparently is related, or might have strychnine in it, the poison strychnine. So it's dangerous in like high dosages if you're not careful. Obviously this is very safe, this essence. But in my dream there was two bottles, and one of the bottles was strychnine, pure strychnine, and the other one was blue, and it had a special name. And what happened is when the name was revealed to me, all of a sudden, I live in Chile, and all of a sudden there was this massive earthquake. Or it wasn't an earthquake, it was a big earth tremor. It wasn't massive, but it was quite big. And everybody in the house woke up, and I woke up, and it was interesting because I was pulled completely out of like an extremely profound place in the subconscious. So I remembered this name. It was like the secret name of Camalunga in the spirit world. And so I was going to talk about it, but then I got a message telling me not to reveal the name. So I won't reveal the name. Anyway, also some of the dreams I had about it were pretty intense. In one of the dreams about Camalunga, there was a student of mine, because I teach classes in university, but one of my students in the dream was there, and we were in the jungle, and he ran off with the bottle and never returned. So I see like the jungle is kind of like, he ran off into the jungle. I reckon the jungle's like the unconscious, and this is a big door opener for the unconscious probably. I guess I'm going to have to try it after those dreams, but I haven't done it yet. Huaira Caspi. I've had this for quite a long time, and I haven't tried it until today. When you get the essences, you get this nice little thing. It's like it's kind of like the website. It just describes the stuff on it. Yeah, so when you buy these, you get this little leaflet here explaining. So I'll just read the stuff about Huaira Caspi because it's relevant to my little story here, which I'm going to tell you. Huaira Caspi. The tree's energy is light and airy. Connect to this essence to bring freshness to the mind, clearing negative thought loops. The color of Huaira Caspi's energetic medicine is green, representing the tree's ability to balance the heart and mind. The colorful is peaceful and relaxing. Now, the things which are important here is the clearing negative thought loops and balancing the heart and mind. So this was what interested me about this in the first place. I bought their products originally. I found them online, and I thought, wow, this is amazing. I can't believe I found all these things. This is like a dream come true, you know? And so I bought a couple of the essences, and they blew my mind. And so I did a couple of the videos. So that's the Huaira Caspi. So let me just turn the camera around here, and let me just talk about what happened with this. Yeah, so the Huaira Caspi has been really interesting. I took some this morning, and I was a bit nervous about it, obviously, because I've had so many crazy experiences and whatnot. But, I mean, going through, I keep looking at those bottles. Eventually, I'm going to have to try it. Now, the thing that really interested about me is that it says it breaks negative thought loops and connects with the heart. Now, this is something I've been doing. This is a direction I'm going in. Generally balance or somehow disconnect a bit from the third eye and try and balance the heart chakra, which I never did. I just went straight to the third eye when I started meditating, and it blew open. That's cool, but I really am seeking balance now. This kind of ties in with some of the stuff I've been studying about Ramana Maharishi and Advaita. Advaita is really interesting because the kind of thing you hear about, maybe if you watch any gurus online, it's one of those words which they just throw out there, but you don't really know what it means. It's basically accepting that the world is a projection of who we are. So like we're God, and the whole world's a projection around us, or something of that nature. Now, I don't even know if, I think there may be higher levels than that. Maybe there's a bigger God but we are whatever. But it's an interesting concept, and there are some interesting hypotheses I've got based on that. So what happened is I took the Huaira Caspi, low dose, because I'm nervous about everything. And one of the things I'm nervous about, obviously, if you watched my aliens video a couple of a month ago, you know, I mean, from time to time I have sort of frightening experiences which seem sort of extraterrestrial in nature, kind of a thing, you know. One of the things I've been thinking about a lot is the fact that those visions, you see, I think, the thing is, there seems to be this disconnect. Sorry about the shouting at a bunch of kids here. But there seems to be like this disconnect. You see people like Ramana Maharishi, Sai Baba, Neem Karoli Babi, Jesus, all these big gurus, and they don't seem to be scared of aliens landing, right? They seem to have avoided that whole milieu of visitors in their lives. Why is that? We see, I think it's because they are aspects of the imagination. Now, as you may have remembered, I've several times said that I believe that consciousness is the imagination. And I might be changing my view in that a little bit. Part of consciousness is the imagination, and visionary and creative. I think this whole world's created by consciousness and the imagination in particular, in some ways. But I think there's another energy source, which is the heart. And so I think my basic thing is this, is the third eye connects to the imagination, and the heart connects to emotion and intention, which I've never really focused on doing. This is interesting, because when I took the Huaira Caspi, what happened is I started having these visions, and it went straight into like sci-fi Egypt, but very mild, because I took a low dose of it. But it certainly went to that place, and I'm really uncomfortable with that, because it reminds me of my experience with Elohim and the whole thing. And I'm like, man, oh, it's exactly what I didn't want. But I thought I was in front of the computer, so I decided, you know what, I'm going to get up, I'm going to go outside, because I've got this feeling, which was coming, and this feeling was coming through to me when I was watching this. The feeling was that, you know, my feeling is the plants are actually highly moral. And so if there's anything negative coming through, it's probably coming from me, right? That's my sort of working theory. So I went outside and I walked out to the canal, and I was thinking to myself, you know, I was feeling this energy still. And as I was walking out, I just started thinking about Ramana Maharishi. And, you know, I was watching some videos about him last night, and I was just really feeling connected to Maharishi. So I was out there and I walked out and I started feeling it, and I started feeling this connection to the heart chakra. I started feeling that connection, and strangely enough, all the imaginative stuff started diminishing, all the visionary stuff diminishing. So this is sort of tying into a lot of what my current theory is about zoning into the heart chakra. It's all about, I mean, it's cliche to say this, I apologize, but it's all about connecting with the intuition. It's connecting with intuition and love rather than imagination and thought, because that's where the error comes from, is thought. It's interesting, when I was in university, I was an English major, and at one point I thought of myself as a mild scholar of John Milton. I did a couple of seminars in Milton, and I read a lot. He's like a poet from the 18th or 17th century. I can't remember. But his big famous work is Paradise Lost. The big thing about that is there's a great scene between God and Satan. And Satan says, you know, I'd rather be free in hell than a slave in heaven. And you see, it all seems like it's about heaven and hell and all those sort of Christian imagery. But maybe what's actually going on there is actually a fight between the third eye and the heart. That might be what it is that it's between thought and logic and the heart and intuition and feeling. So it's sort of metaphorical. And what happens is we tend to personify and sort of anthropomorphize these huge conflicts. And I think there's something like that going on. So anyway, what I think is, I think those sci-fi Egyptian aliens, which I've seen a million times in ayahuasca, and I've had some pretty terrifying visions of them from time to time, and nice visions. I mean, they were never terrifying, really. They were always sort of pretty cool when I was doing ayahuasca. But then after the whole Elohim thing, that really, it really shook me up. You can check out my video on the Elohim. I'll link it below. But that was such a jaw-dropping experience. I've been shaken up ever since then, really. What's interesting is, you see, the Huaira Caspi is all about breaking negative thought loops. And, you know, it's one thing to read it on a piece of paper, but what actually happened is I actually went outside and it broke. the negative thought loop I'm having, because I really get caught up with this whole thing about these sci-fi Egyptian aliens. The whole internet's caught up with this, with the Anunnaki and the Elohim and ancient aliens and all this stuff. And what does it mean? And you say this doesn't mean that they're not real, but what it may mean is that they're the critters of this world, which is based on thought and imagination. But where the real heart, where the sacred heart is in the intuition and emotion, and that's where we've got to connect to. And you see, this is, all these sages have said this, whether it was Sai Baba, whether it was Ramana Maharishi, whether it was Neem Karoli Babi, whether it was Jesus. This is what they're all saying. Connect to the heart. So this is interesting because this is exactly what the description said on the bottle. Connect to the heart, reconnect to the heart, and break, or balance the mind and the heart, and reconnect, break negative thought loops. So I think it's actually, it's like amazing. It's done both of those things. Yeah. So what happened is when I started coming back inside after my little meditation, which I did outside, trying to like find balance, I found the balance, and I was walking back in. I just heart chakra, hexagram. I just saw it. Boom. Beautiful, profound, deep heart, sacred heart. Sacred heart is the phrase that comes to me. I'm convinced that these plants have the highest moral intentions. Now, the truth is, now what happens is there's an interesting point to this, is because, like sometimes you can take a plant and have a horrible experience. Like a couple of times I did Shariks and Angle and I had really terrible, traumatizing experience. Why is that? The reason why it is because plants are amazing. They're highly moral, but they're also working in a competitive environment. Some of these vines, the ayahuasca vine grows up around other plants. Other vines, I can't remember which ones, but they will grow, or other trees, they use other plants and then strangle the other plants and take over their territory. There's a struggle for life in the plant world too. So what happens is when you enter into the plant world, and you bring your negativity, you bring your worries and all this stupid stuff, you bring it into a world where these plants they don't have the same challenges that humans do as far as balancing their chakras, right? It's all cool, at least as far as we can determine. They're way more advanced, I think, than we are, the plants. They seem to have like the holy grail for human technology is trying to find like quantum computing or parallel processing. When you get like 100 processors working at once. These trees already have that implemented. Every leaf is like a generator of consciousness. They got a huge advantage in terms of what they can process and understand, at least in these realms. When we come into these plant areas with these ridiculous problems and our addictions and all the stupid stuff, what might happen is, much like they strangle out weak plants, they might just, you appear as a weed to them. So you might just kick in their self-protection algorithms so that they can push you out. And that can get intense. It's a technique of eliminating the negative from their lives. So anyway, Huaira Caspi. No, this is just the first day. This is my first experience. I was thinking I was only going to do it for one day because I was thinking I'm not going to do a dieta because I'm such a commitment and whatnot. But maybe I'll do a couple more days. We'll see, because I'm really impressed with the way I feel, and that was really beautiful in the whole thing. It was really nice, and I feel like it's sort of confirmed a path which has already been growing inside my mind about this whole thing about the heart. Focusing on the heart waves, people have been saying, are like much stronger than the brain waves. The heart is stronger than the third eye, and I'm going down that path. I'm going down the path of intention and heart-based intention with life. And the Huaira Caspi has augmented and confirmed that, and it broke the thought loop, because I get all fearful about those things, and about those alien creatures. And so I was sort of seeing it overlaid, and it was very simple. I just went inside and said, this is not the highest truth. The problem is, you see that it's like the Matrix. You look at the Matrix, you're like, that's the highest truth. The highest truth is what was represented in the Matrix, but it's not the highest truth. It's the highest truth as seen through the third eye, but the third eye may not be the highest truth unless it is balanced out with the heart chakra, which seems to be a huge thing that's missing, especially, well, in the psychedelic community or whatever, right? If people like Ramana Maharishi and Jesus and Sai Baba all these guys who were Bhagavans and heart-based. There's not much talk about aliens from them. Funnily enough, Paramahansa Nityananda talks about aliens several times, but his view on it is like they're all good. You can learn from all of them. So from the perspective of Advaita, which he believes in, I mean, that could be true because they're all projections of parts of our consciousness, which means they're all sort of some kind of reflection of ourselves. So it's something we have to come to terms with on those levels. Anyway, Wiry Caspi Sacred Tree Essences, highly recommended. I'm thinking I may do 3 days with it and then do some cielo to close it up. Okay, talk to you later. Peace.